Through November, more than 4 million jobs have been lost in the U.S. To reverse those losses, President Obama outlined a plan earlier this month to extend tax cuts and ease credit to small businesses. In a globally competitive world where innovators are the leaders, is the U.S. focusing on the right initiatives to maintain its leadership role? We get the thoughts of Deborah Wince-Smith, president of the Council on Competitiveness. Deborah, good to see you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, Michelle.
Are we doing the right things in this country to stay competitive?
Well, we really need to have a national competitiveness policy that addresses the talent, investment, and infrastructure to drive our competitiveness in global markets. We have a lot to do.
What would be in a national competitiveness policy?
Well, I think one of the first things we have to deal with is that in the global economy, the rest of the world is moving ahead. Global growth is going outside of the United States, and increasingly, we have to be the country that produces the high-value goods and services that command a premium. And in order to do that, we have to have the best tax policies, best regulatory system, the highly trained people, and lead in global trade liberalization throughout the world.
Trade liberalization? I feel like lately we've been doing just the opposite.
Well, we have, and it's rather ironic given that, as I said, growth is coming outside of the United States in the developed world, 6% projection for next year, and other countries are moving forward where we're kind of stalled. So that's one of the pieces of the agenda. But turning back home, one of the areas that's really at the top of the list is to revitalize 21st century manufacturing and for the U.S. to be a leadership in designing, building, and making the next generation of products.
Don't our labor costs prohibit that? I mean, the reason people manufacture outside the United States is labor is so much cheaper in other parts of the world, Vietnam, China, etc.
Well, that's one of the issues, but you can't compete on labor alone. That's never been the strategy in our country, and it can't be going forward. We want a high standard of living for our citizens. So again, we have to innovate and do manufacturing in a smarter way, using the most advanced technologies, supercomputing, and also create an advantage on cost structure.
But how do we get there?
Well, one of the things we need to do is reduce the U.S. corporate tax rate, which is the second highest in the world. Also, create some incentives to ensure that the R&D that we're investing, for instance, in clean energy, that we deploy that here in the United States. Otherwise, we'll be creating the seed corn for other countries to commercialize.
Wouldn't we do it naturally in an effort to save money? I mean, if we have alternative energies that are more efficient or less costly than heating oil, natural gas, et cetera, isn't that going to happen naturally?
It's going to happen naturally over time, but right now we need all sources of energy, and we need a regulatory environment that lets us deploy here quickly. I mean, when you look at the complex set of approvals that's needed to put up any type of energy facility, from solar, from wind to nuclear, it's kind of staggering compared to the rest of the world. And the other thing we need to do, and this is really important work from the U.S. Council on Competitiveness, business needs certainty. They need certainty on what's going to happen with health care, on energy policy, on the issue of how to manage movement to a low-carbon world, whether it's going to be a tax or cap and trade. All of that really will drive the investment and the deployment here in the United States, where the high-value jobs will be.
Lower corporate taxes, trade liberalization, less regulation. You're preaching to the choir here, but in this environment, do you have any real hopes that those are going to go in the direction that you want them to?
Well, I think one of the challenges for us is to really build a strong bipartisan support for these issues. As I mentioned earlier, Michelle, the rest of the world is moving forward. I mean, when you see what's going on in Brazil, and Brazil's doing a pretty fantastic job, all of these countries, and China's the obvious one as well, they're creating this environment. One, they want to attract high-value investment. They want to provide the environment for the highest value work to be done, and they're moving forward with that, while we in the United States are having a lot of trouble reaching consensus.
Yeah, they are embracing all the policies that we loved for so long, and we've had this momentary kind of rethinking of everything. In the meantime, they keep moving ahead, and we're going the other direction. It's all very interesting. Deborah, it was great to talk to you.
Thank you, Michelle, and good luck for next year.
Yes, you too.
Thank you.